Jai Sriman Narayan.
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 I pay my obeisances to my spiritual master, Srimad Jagat Guru Sudarshan Acharya Ji. I pay my obeisances to Lord Sri Ramanuj. I pay my obeisances to the Purva Acharya. I pay my obeisances to the 12 Alvars. I pay my obeisances to Mother Lakshmi, and I pay my obeisances to Lord Sriman Narayan. I welcome all of you here at the Sri Narayan Dham, who are permanent residents of the Sri Narayan Dham, to day 3 of our celebration of the month of the Ramanujans. I also welcome those that's watching this discourse locally, nationally, and internationally. And I welcome in advance those that's going to be watching this discourse when it is posted in the various groups from around the world subsequently. Our intention of having this marathon satsang is to bring into context and draw your attention to the Vedas in its most purified form, in its absolute state. The Vedas have been interpreted by many saints since time immemorial. However, as the Vedas are absolute, then interpreting the Vedas is improper. And when the Vedas are interpreted, then it suits a relative state, and it does not give you the import or the total import that the Vedas were intended to give you. So going back to basics, Vedas mean knowledge and subsequent wisdom. Knowledge and wisdom. The Vedas was not authored. It does not have a founder. It is not founded on a particular prophet or saint's deliberations. The Vedas exist eternally. When something is eternal, it means it is beginning and no end. It is in a continued state of existence. And if something is in the material universe or enters the material universe in a continued state of existence, then when the material universes cease to be, that continues to exist. Hence, no man has the capacity to be a source of the Vedas. The Vedas are eternal. It is also infinite. Vedas basically means knowledge. That knowledge is infinite. Infinite means it cannot be calculated. The Vedas is knowledge that cannot be calculated, as it is voluminous and it is also infinite. The Vedas prescribed for human education, the Vedas that are prescribed for human education is a prescription that has been revealed to saints, sages, and seers time immemorial. When the attributive consciousness of these saints, seers, and sages reached absolute purity, then it connected with the attributive consciousness of the Supreme Lord. And when the attributive consciousness of the two connected, then the essence of the Vedas was revealed. To these saints, sages, and seers, and in their turn, these saints, sages, and seers gathered disciples and orally transmitted the revealed knowledge they received in the state of absolute purity. This revealed knowledge was passed down from generation to generation, where the spiritual master passed this knowledge orally to his disciples. Then his disciples became spiritual masters and passed it on to their disciples until 5,000 years ago, when Vedas took his birth, modified the Vedas into 4 and split the Vedas into 4. The Vedas itself, each Veda itself, is further split into 4. The first part is the Samhitas, the Brahmanas, the Aryanakas, and the Upanishads. This revealed Vedas is the essence of the Supreme Personality or the Supreme Lord, Lord Sriman Narayan. The substantive quality of the Supreme Lord is knowledge and bliss. And it is this knowledge that is distilled into the 4 Vedas, which Veda Vyas compiled 5,000 years ago. So I want to explain by getting into a little background the reason why we need the Vedas. In my discourses on creation, I stated that when the Lord willed creation, and this willing for the purposes of creating the material universes are impelled by the sum total of all the karmas of the living entities. I also stated that for creation to take place, the Lord manifests into the factor. So for creation to take place, material creation, we need time, and this time disturbs the equilibrium of the three gunas, and the disturbance of the three gunas from its equilibrium starts off the process of creation. I also stated that these countless universes emanates from the breathing of the Supreme Lord, Lord Sriman Narayan. When he breathes out, all these universes are manifested, and when he breathes in, all these universes are annihilated. So if you can imagine when the Lord Sriman Narayan is breathing out, millions of bubbles in the form of universes are suspended, and within those universes, time starts creation. So basically, material creation is a time capsule. Basically, material creation is a time capsule. And within this time capsule, material nature itself, in the form of the five elements, continues to take birth, to grow, to bear fruits, to bear seeds, and to perish. And this is a continuous cycle of material nature due to the time factor. Because in time, nothing can remain static. Then in this time capsule are inserted an infinite amount of souls, an infinite amount of individual souls are inserted into this time factor. And as I stated earlier, that the impulsion or impelling the Lord to will creation is dictated by the sum total of karma. Now karma is beginningless. Beginningless means something that has been going on continuously. So karma is beginningless It means that those souls that continuously exist in the material dimension has been there as long as there has been karma, and since karma is beginningless, then those souls have been there since beginningless, and these souls do not diminish with time, because the individual soul itself, in its own capacity, is eternal. And what does eternal mean? What does eternal mean? Cannot be killed. It exists all the time. Taking that into consideration, these souls are embodied into 8.4 million species. These souls are embodied into 8.4 million species, and they rotate and evolve up and down, but mostly up, to evolve and finally leave these material universes or these time capsules. To understand the nature of these time capsules, the Supreme Lord created a working constitution. To understand life within this time capsule, the Supreme Lord created a working constitution. And this working constitution is called the Vedas. This prescribed knowledge, this prescribed knowledge is eternal. And if it is eternal, then it cannot be changed. It has to be transmitted in the exact form that it exists in. It has to be exhibited in its exact form that it exists in. So these prescribed Vedas are prescribed in 4 categories. The Vedas teaches you everything that you need to know in the material universe. The Vedas is knowledge of all. The Vedas is absolute knowledge of all there is to know. And it is divided into 4 categories. And the 4 categories are religious principles, what else? Economic development, religious principles, economic development, what else? Fulfillment of desires and liberation. So the Vedas the working constitution for humankind is divided into 4 categories: religious principles, economic development, fulfillment of desires, and liberation. The reason the first 3 deals with the material, your material needs. Religious principles is required for your economic development so that you can fulfill your desires. These are material needs. And the reason the Supreme Lord prescribed the Vedas in this format is no human will want to get liberated directly. So to entice into a system, the Supreme Lord has presented the Vedas in these 4 categories. In order man through religious systems, economic development and fulfillment of his desires get tired and understand that these 3 concepts are temporary, then he starts seeking for something that is permanent. And it is at this stage. So, the 4th portion, in order to attain liberation, the Supreme Lord created the segment called Vedanta. Vedanta means end of knowledge. Vedanta means end of knowledge. So Vedanta will be your conclusion in Vedic information, starting from religious principle, economic development, fulfillment of desires, and now liberation. So if you get in any aspect, materially, if you have to draw a conclusion on a material assignment, must your conclusion be diversified or unified? You do a huge assignment, you bring all your factors together, then when you want to conclude, must your conclusion have many answers or must it have one answer? One answer. Your conclusion must have one answer. Vedanta must only be one. Vedanta must be one because to conclude, your end of knowledge must be one. There must only be one way to end your knowledge. If there are many ways to end your knowledge, then you have not reached the end of knowledge. So there is a huge mistake when philosophers say there are 3 philosophies in Vedanta. You cannot have 3. Your conclusion cannot be diversified. And this is the reason, because of the diversification of conclusion of Vedanta, that those that follow Sanatana Dharma are in a state of confusion. So for Vedanta to be absolute, for the knowledge of the Supreme Lord to be absolute, then the conclusion must be absolute. And for an absolute conclusion, there can only be one conclusion. We will continue with part 4 tomorrow. Jai Shriman Narayan.